Far from the bustling highways and the echoing din of crowded cities, nestled quietly in the gentle embrace of a tranquil valley, lies a garden untouched by haste. Here, where the world's clamor seems like a distant memory, the landscape breathes in slow, measured rhythms, a place made entirely of ease, patience, and serene beauty. Tall trees with sprawling canopies trace soft shadows across lawns as plush as unfolded cotton blankets, their open arms cradling all who walk beneath. In the heart of the garden, a round, shimmering lake lies glass-like, mirroring the ever-changing blue above and curling the edges of sky with each ripple. Among the hush and the green, in a forgotten corner beneath the twisting arms of an ancient fig tree, lives Mok, a turtle unlike any other. Mok moves with the calm assurance of one who knows every corner of his home. His shell, an earthy, mossy green, gleams softly, smooth to the touch, as if shaped by centuries of rainy days and slowly passing time. It looks almost as if it were formed from the river stones at the bottom of a sparkling stream, hard, cool, endlessly patient. Mok's little legs are sturdy and deliberate. Each step is slow, as if he is weighing the world with every movement. His eyes, half-lidded and peaceful, shimmer with the reflection of dappled sunlight, always seeming to listen inward, attuned to a secret melody carried by the earth itself. Mok cherishes peace above all. Loudness unsettles him, sudden movements pass him by unnoticed. Day after day, he finds comfort in the filtered shade of the fig tree, the gentle brush of moss beneath him, and the scent of damp earth left behind by the soft rain that falls in the deepest part of the night. Here, time itself pauses, content to drift with Mok's measured pace. Yet those who share the garden with Mok know that he keeps a gentle, unusual secret. A secret everyone senses, though it is never spoken aloud. Mok's breathing, delicate and slow, carries a magic all its own. Not magic of spells or incantations, but the most natural and subtle of gifts. When Mok curls into his shell and inhales, deep and careful, and exhales, light and whisper soft, everything around him changes. Puff. Ah, puff. Each breath floats through leaves and over the water's mirrored face, and with it, the garden's restless heart grows still. In those instances, the butterflies hush their flittering dance and come to rest on a cool pebble. Birds, usually busy with their hopeful songs, tuck their heads beneath their wings and fall silent. Even the wind, so fond of twirling the grass and laughing through branches, seems to tiptoe gently, swirling in harmony with Mok's gentle lullaby. Every blade of grass, every petal, every wandering leaf grows drowsy, yielding to a peaceful drowse. Even the ants, so diligent and focused as they carry breadcrumbs across the garden paths, pause, bowing to one another as if sensing a sacred ceremony in the air. The honeybee, always in a whirl of haste, finds herself spiraling in gentle circles and then landing softly atop a flower, nestling into the yellow curls of an open blossom and surrendering at last to dreams. A hush falls across the garden, and sleep, sweet as spring dew, spreads like a silken veil. Mok never wondered why life swayed to his rhythm. He simply lived, unhurried and content. His mornings began with the first song of the wind. His evenings closed with the touch of moonlight on still water. He never longed to journey beyond the valley, nor did he wish for grand deeds or noisy celebrations. Day after quiet day, he would climb onto a warm stone, gaze dreamily at clouds wandering overhead, and breathe as softly as the passing breeze. He seldom spoke, and when friends approached, perhaps seeking the wisdom in his untroubled manner, Mok would raise his head, eyes misty, and reply with a single gentle sentence. Afterward, he would draw another calm breath, and the listener's worries would seem to drift away, lost on the tide of Mok's quietude. On a day marked by a particularly tender golden sun, the garden seemed wrapped in a honeyed glow. Each sunbeam lingered on leaf and petal, dripping warmth through the branches like slow amber syrup. Mok lay as usual in the shade, his shell half dappled in shifting light, his eyes pitched beneath heavy lids. Without plan or invitation, the denizens of the garden began to gather. The snail, slow even by his own standards, left a shimmering trail that glimmered in the sunlight. A little swallow stilled her wings and perched atop a tender branch, watching the sleepy turtle with silent fascination. Even a droplet of water, perched precariously on the tip of a lotus leaf, hesitated to tumble, fearing to break the spell of tranquility. And then, as if a shared signal passed quietly among them, everything receded into the distance. The noise, the motion, the pull of events outside this garden. Only the gentle sound of Mok's breathing remained, soft, warm, unwavering. a melody wound tight with the roots of the earth. Moments blurred into stillness. One by one, the creatures surrendered to sleep. A breath, a silence, a pause. Yet while sleep wrapped every living thing in the garden, something marvelous blossomed in their shared slumber. Each inhabitant found themselves drifting in a landscape of dreams where gravity had no hold. The snail imagined floating among glimmering clouds. The swallow, weightless, transformed into a shimmering feather gliding on the wind. Some dreamed themselves as delicate droplets on the lake's surface, gliding gently, unafraid. In the midst of it all, Mok slept too, his own breath still pulsing the secret melody the garden loved so well. It was not words nor a song, but a gentle vibration that kept the garden dreaming, unbroken and safe. There is a quiet certainty in the valley. Some say that if you ever find yourself alone with the hush of the night, the air filled with the scent of wet earth and the song of distant frogs, you may just hear Mok's breath, soft as the wind, faint but sure, a sound that smooths the mind and carries sleep on its gentle tide. And if in that delicate silence you listen and let go, if you surrender your thoughts and close your eyes, you might find yourself slipping quietly into a rest deeper than any dream. Within that rest, you'll discover a peace that lingers, gentle and true, as if cradled by the garden's own heart and guided there by a small, mossy turtle named Mok. There are mornings when the world seems to spill its light slowly, where each blade of grass glimmers with dew and the calmness feels stitched into the earth. In such a garden, peace is the soft hum beneath everything that stirs. The air brushes cool fingers along the surface of the pond. Dragonflies skate in circles, and bees continue their endless dances, busy but unhurried. Amid this tranquil scene, Mok the turtle rests by the water's edge, a still, green shell nestled at the border of reflection and reality. Mok breathes, slow and deep, in a rhythm that seems woven into the garden itself. But tranquility can be a fragile thing, and sometimes it quivers before the touch of a restless spirit. From the bamboo thicket, a rustle breaks the velvet silence, a sound that ripples through the hush like a pebble across calm water. Suddenly, a flash of white sets the day alight. Ears tall and twitching, eyes bright as morning dew, its little rabbit exploding into the garden. All motion and excitement, never content to let even a single moment pass uncelebrated. "Oops, sorry," calls Little Rabbit, voice like a silver bell, scattering dragonflies into the breeze. Little Rabbit introduces himself with pride, a newcomer from the garden next door, where the days dragged and playmates were few. He craves action, the thrill of racing, the delight of being in perpetual motion. "Does anyone here like to jump?" he asks the quiet garden, long ears pricked for a response. But Mok, the sleepy turtle, remains unmoved by this whirlwind of energy. With a blink as slow as dusk and a breath softer than the falling leaves, Mok acknowledges Little Rabbit with the faintest "hi," a greeting barely louder than the grass whispering underfoot. Perplexed by Mok's serenity, Little Rabbit bounces in place. "If I just lay around like you, I'd go crazy. Don't you see that the days pass so slowly?" he exclaims, unable to comprehend a world where stillness might be a gift. Mok only smiles, a gentle curving of lips, and says, "The days pass just long enough to daydream." Little Rabbit, fidgeting, tries to understand. He admits, "Daydreaming? I'm not sure what you mean. When I lie down, my eyes pop wide open. I've counted stars, carrots, jump ropes. Nothing works. I just can't sleep." He is, after all, made for movement, for curiosity, for asking questions more quickly than answers can arrive. With kindness shining in his gaze, Mok turns towards Little Rabbit, a look that glows warm like honey at sunset. "Have you tried," he suggests gently, "listening to my breathing? The idea is strange enough to intrigue even the most restless of rabbits." Little Rabbit, catching a glimmer of curiosity, settles beside Mok. He rests his chin on his paws, ears falling softly to the ground, determination quietly flickering in his eyes as he promises, "All right, I'll listen, but if I don't get sleepy, you'll have to race with me." And so Mok breathes, a soft, deep inhale, drawn from the earth itself. A measured exhale as steady as the breeze. The moments stretch, filled with the music of wind through leaves and the warmth of the lowering sun, gold and thick as honey. At first, Little Rabbit listens with skepticism. But gradually, the rhythm of Mok's breath, so calming, so reliable, begins to work a gentle magic. The garden, already quiet, falls into a deeper hush. It is as though even the sun slows down to watch the pair, one restless, one calm, sharing this moment of stillness. Slowly, Almost without noticing, little Rabbit's eyes begin to drift closed. The frantic thoughts that usually bounce around in his mind become softer, more distant. His tail gives a gentle twitch before falling still. The demands of movement slip away, replaced by the serenity of Mock's breath, a lullaby older than memory. In his dreams, Rabbit finds himself transported, not to meadows or forests or burrows deep underground, but to the sky itself. He is leaping, not on the earth, but across clouds, soft, fragrant mounds of cotton that carry him higher with every bound. Here, he doesn't need to run fast or jump far. He glides, drifts, floats, light as air, free as the breeze he once found so difficult to rest in. Overhead, Mock's laughter echoes softly, like thunder far away. And there, spread across the heavens, is a pillow woven from fresh green grass, waiting to welcome Rabbit's weary head. Rabbit snuggles into it, sighing in relief, and lets himself drift even deeper into the dream. When at last little Rabbit wakes, the sky is burnished with the orange blush of evening. Mock is unchanged, still lying quietly in the grass, though a scatter of golden leaves now rests on his shell, a gentle sign that time, like the wind, has continued its journey. Rabbit stretches in the fading light, surprise sparking in his eyes. I fell asleep, he marvels, wondering at a feeling so soft, so sweet. Mock offers a slow, contented blink. I knew you would. Rabbit tumbles and rolls, his whole body giddy with new discovery. I dreamed of cotton clouds. I never imagined sleeping could be this wonderful. Mock smiles, grounding the moment in truth. Because you learned how to breathe, like the wind. From that day forward, little Rabbit remains true to himself. Lively, enthusiastic, and always searching for games to play among the clover and the bees. But as sunlight tapers and the air cools, he slips quietly to Mock's side, eager to listen to the music of breath, the ancient rhythm that binds garden, wind, and dream together. And every time Rabbit listens, every time he lets go and breathes in the peace Mock offers, dreams come easily. Sometimes he floats as a cloud. Sometimes he blossoms as a flower. Sometimes he becomes a pillow, drifting, peaceful, embraced by the sky. Mock, ever calm, continues to breathe, giving space for Rabbit's dreams to unfurl. And so they say, whenever your thoughts flit and skip and refuse to let you rest, whenever your heart leaps restlessly inside your chest, go find a quiet place. Close your eyes. Imagine you are beside a wise, patient turtle, the wind breathing softly, gently through you both. Pft, ah, pft, ah. And let yourself drift into dreams as soft as cotton, carried on the calming music of breath, simple, ancient, and always waiting for you. That morning, the world was wrapped in a gentle glow, the kind of day where the sky seems infinite, soft and blue, stretching from horizon to horizon without end. Slow-moving clouds glided overhead, their shapes shifting into quiet boats adrift, lazily floating across the stillness of a great lake. Beneath one such cloud, at the edge of the quiet water, lay Mock, a turtle, ancient and unhurried, pillowed in the dappled shade cast by an old fig tree. Mock's eyes were half closed, his breath moving in and out with the mild rhythm of a summer breeze, a soft whisper, in tune with the murmur of grass and the hush of gentle ripples. It was a scene built for stillness, a moment drawn out and suspended in air. But sudden energy electrified the calm as, from the far side of the lake, there arose a peculiar sound. A faint, tremulous buzzing, delicate as silk, but sharp enough to slice through the quiet like a single gleaming thread stretched across the morning sky. Then, without warning, the air thumped twice, whoosh, whoosh, and a shining shadow darted into view. He was small but radiant, the dragonfly bay cow. In the sun, his body gleamed, beaded with light, so bright and insistent that he looked like a drop of water brought to life. His wings, as thin as tissue, flashed as he flew, up, down, twisting left, darting right, moving so quickly that he seemed to flicker in and out of existence. He did not stop, not for a breath, not for a heartbeat. Never still, he danced through the open air, reckless and wild, his heart locked in endless motion. Baikau was no ordinary dragonfly. While others paused on lotus leaves, spent lazy moments sunning themselves among petals, he alone refused to ever stop. He moved even when the world seemed to ask for rest. When clouds gathered and sunlight was hidden, Baikau still soared. When darkness fell and the wind pressed low, he pressed on. The world was wide and bright, and Baikau chased every glimmer. Once he'd said in a voice as light as air, "I'm afraid to stop, afraid that if I rest, even for a moment, I'll fall. My wings would forget how to fly." And so he did not stop. Neither gentle rain nor shivering shade, nor the deep hush of nighttime could persuade him otherwise. He flew and flew and flew, never letting his heart pause in the sky. But change comes quietly, even to the restless. That day, as the sun rose higher, a wind began to blow. Not fierce, but strange, restless, swirling, looping in circles, the kind of wind that tugs and spins and confuses. At first, Bei Chao simply adjusted, darting faster, beating his wings harder. But the wind was cunning. It twisted in sudden gusts, looping him back and forth, stealing his direction, making every movement uncertain. Bei Chao was caught, pulled into the wind's confusing dance, his own frantic energy now fighting against the world itself. He tried to push through, to go faster, but with every quickened beat, his heart thundered in his chest. It was not the steady thrum of power, but a wild, slippery rhythm, like a kite spun out of control, like a butterfly fighting a gale. For the first time, doubt seeped into his thoughts. I don't know where I'm going anymore, Bei Chao realized. And beneath that, a truth deeper still. His bright wings, always so sure, were growing tired. His heart, forever in motion, was, without his noticing, utterly, desperately exhausted. It was then, when the strength's last thread began to fray, that the wind finally dropped him. He spun low and lower, like a leaf cut from its branch, until he landed, gasping, trembling, right in front of the old fig tree. And there, under the cool canopy, lay Mok, calm as stone except for that rhythmic, peaceful breathing. Bei Chao could barely catch his breath. I got lost. I didn't dare stop. Now, I'm so tired. Mok's eyes opened, slow, deep, clear as the lake on a windless morning. He met the dragonfly's gaze, trembling, shining, uncertain eyes. Sit here, Mok whispered, his voice barely more than the brush of a breeze. It's all right, rest. For the first time since he broke free from his watery cocoon, Bei Chao folded his wings and sat down, silent beside the turtle. There was no flying, no frantic motion, no proving that he belonged to the sky. He just listened. Mok's breaths came gentle and regular, pff, pff, over and over, like waves on sand. Gradually, something shifted. The feverish buzzing in Bei Chao's ears faded, replaced by the slow, sure cadence of Mok's breathing. The pounding of his heart slowed, no longer a wild drum, but something softer, even, and steady. His wings stilled, not weak, just quiet. The air around him settled, grew thick and warm, like the hush before a rain, or a hug that asks for nothing in return. A new thought shaped itself inside Bei Chao's mind. Stopping doesn't mean falling, he realized. Stopping, if only for a moment, can let me fly in a different way. He closed his heavy eyes, drifting for the first time not through turbulence and striving, but through the sweet, boundless softness of rest. He dreamed of light, of drift, of floating alongside clouds with no rush and no fear. In that dream, he understood what it meant to move without being driven, what it was to trust the air and the stillness alike. When at last Bei Chao awoke, the sky was still blue, the water still bright, but the world seemed changed. The urgency was gone. He had never known such calmness. The quiet in his chest was profound as the lake's own depths. "Thank you," he whispered, voice shaking with something like wonder. "I think I will fly slower now. Whenever I remember your breathing, Mok." Mok only nodded, a faint smile crinkling the edges of his ancient mouth. "You do not have to fly forever to be a dragonfly," he said, as steady as ever. Bei Chao smiled too. This time, he did not leap skyward, but tested his wings slowly, each motion thoughtful, unconcerned. He drifted on the warm breeze, carrying with him the memory of Mok's breath, the lesson of rest, the peace found not in endless motion, but in the spaces between. And so they say, when you are tired of ceaseless flying, when you fear that stopping means falling, remember the fig tree, the turtle's breath. Find a little quiet, settle your heart, and breathe slow and deep. You will see, the heart, like wings, needs to rest. And when you rise again, you will not fly from fear, but with peace. And the sky, as you will discover, is more welcoming than you ever imagined. On that quiet afternoon, the sky changed its mind. Gloom gathered overhead, painting the world in softened blues and grays. Heavy clouds hung low, as if burdened with unspoken thought, silent but full of longing. Beneath their shadow, the garden braced itself for the first rain, its heart still and expectant. In the gentle stillness, even the old fig tree seemed to hold its breath. Mold, the sleepy turtle, lay curled underneath, nestling in the cool moss, utterly oblivious as the garden shifted into a fresh, damp hush. No thunder rolled down the hills. No lightning cut the sky. Instead, a grace filled the air. A fine, unhurried drizzle descended, each droplet a question searching for shelter, each drop a whisper wanting to be heard. And among the countless raindrops that fell in orderly, gentle rhythms, one was unlike the others. His name was Lap Lang, and he arrived on the wind, alone. The other raindrops declared their destinations with joy, for each knew where to fall. On the wide, proud lotus leaves, or into the playful pond where circles shimmered and vanished with a giggle. But Lap Lang was drifting, blown off course by a stray breeze. He spun above the garden and felt unfamiliar, uncertain. He thought, I don't know where to fall. I'm afraid if I fall in the wrong place, I'll break and vanish, never to belong. So he wandered through air, passing over leaf and flower, even gliding above the old wooden swing, where beads of rain gathered quietly along the slats. Everything below seemed to accept the rain as gentle company. The leaves no longer shivered but pulled the raindrops close. The blossoms hugged themselves in a quiet huddle. The world became a soft place, a gentle place, patient for something it could not name. Down below, Mold the turtle dreamed his slow dreams. His shell glistened from earlier rain, and his breath rose and fell, a sound both faint and grounding. Lap Lang, feather light, hovered on a stream of wind right over Mold, and for the first time, the little raindrop heard it. Pff, ah, the ancient rhythm of the turtle's sleep. It was not the wind, and it was not water, but something gentler, older. It did not pull Lap Lang down or cast him away. Instead, it seemed to hold him, gently, in a space between falling and flying. Time, often a rushing river sweeping things along, now came to rest. Lap Lang understood a feeling he had never known. He was neither moving nor still. He simply was, a breath, a presence, belonging to neither ground nor sky, but to the hush in between. Time thinned, the rain slowed until the last drops drifted through the dimming light. Lap Lang watched his friends reach their destinies, sparkling on lilies or splashing in puddles, while he waited in floating silence. Eventually, Lap Lang began his descent, so slow it was as if the wind conspired with the turtle's breath to let him down softly. He touched Mold's mossy, welcoming shell, soft, unyielding, safe. He did not shatter. He did not melt into the ground. Instead, he rested, a jewel cradled by textured green and ancient earth, feeling a new sensation held, no longer lost, no longer afraid. On Mold's back, Lap Lang closed his awareness, gentled by the silence around him. For the first time, a drop of rain learned not just to fall or to vanish, but to rest, to sleep, secure on the slow, even breath that moved the world beneath the wet green leaves. After some time, Mold blinked his sleepy eyes open. His nose twitched. He saw the tiny raindrop perched on his back, alive with quiet light, dazzling like a small sun caught in the morning. He smiled. Whether to the raindrop or the sleeping sky above was unclear. Softly he whispered, "There are things in the world that do not need to know where to fall. Somehow, they find the right place, and in the gentlest quiet, they are whole." Lap Lang did not need to answer. He was dreaming now, dreaming of wind and rain and the safe softness of silence. Around him, the world stilled, as if guarding the hushed miracle of his sleep. Silence was not emptiness, but a cradle, a promise. Even invisible to the eye, there was an embrace, something to keep one safe and intact. And quiet words wandered across the world, gently as the rain itself. Sometimes, you are the lost raindrop, uncertain, afraid to choose, worried you will not belong, or that you will slip through unnoticed, uncelebrated. You drift, suspended, waiting for a sign or a calling that never quite appears. But there are moments when you need not land in the world's bright places, need not ripple in obvious beauty, nor be chosen for brilliance. There are places in life, a turtle's slow breath, the gentle hush under a fig tree, where just being is enough, where you can lie softly and be whole. You do not need to rush, nor do you need to know where you're headed. Sometimes, belonging is simply the act of resting in the present moment, carried, cushioned, accompanied by the subtle warmth of those who understand quiet. In these silences, your fears are quieted. The fast world, always urging you to sparkle, to fly, to announce your worth, fades to a gentle hum. You learn that being lost is not always a tragedy, and that even a drifting raindrop carries within it a small breath of possibility. Just to exist, just to slow down, just to breathe in rhythm with gentle things. This is sometimes enough. Let each silence hold steady, and let each soft place cradle its own miracle. For the slow breathing of a turtle, unnoticed by most, can carry dreams so gently that they remain whole, unbroken, undisturbed by life's storms. And so, in the garden where the rain has muffled all sound, where clouds have finally let go of secrets, there remains the memory of a lost raindrop. Safe at last. The world is quieter, but not empty. In the gentle hush after the rain, shelter is found for all things, including the smallest drops, the quietest dreams, and the gentlest forms of hope. Autumn arrives in the garden with a quiet certainty, like a gentle storyteller at the threshold. Gone is the golden blaze of summer's sun, replaced instead by a thin veil of light that drops, mild and a little shy, over the waking world. Dew gathers in tiny pearls across the grass, each one trembling faintly in the chill. A silent choir bearing witness to the season's turning. The treetops, once clad in deep, unwavering green, now dapple gradually in tones of honey and cinnamon, as if the sky itself had spilled a secret recipe across their leaves. The garden, usually so content in stillness, now buzzes with a strange, rustling excitement. The leaves, who all summer long kept the quiet vigil of growth, awaken in eager anticipation. A restlessness runs through their veins. Their time has come for something more than just clinging to branches and sipping sunlight. Silver leaf, her surface shining in the pale morning, wonders aloud what lies beyond the familiar boughs. When we leave, where will we land? Each leaf, it seems, nurses a secret dream. Lemon leaf dares to imagine flight, yearning for distant salt and the singing of waves. Bang leaf, shimmering under the new autumn sun, wants nothing more than to spin high and revel in the dance itself. With the faintest nudge of the early seasonal breeze, their adventure begins. The wind slides between the branches, coaxing a spinning, laughing riot of movement from the leaves. They twist and whirl, orange and cinnamon fragments filling the air, a carnival of color. No leaf can lie still, not when the wind calls and freedom tastes so sweet. They seem as bold and unbound as children stepping beyond the garden gate for the first time, desperate to both prove and know themselves through the act of letting go. In the corner of this vibrant garden, there rests Mock, the turtle, laying against the comforting warmth of a sun-baked stone. Mock's breathing, slow and steady, merges with the animated rhythms of the leaves above. A living, breathing symphony, a drumbeat here, a whispering flute there. The sky above is the color of warm milk stirred lightly with honey, and through the shifting canopy of leaves, Mock opens his old, wise eyes to the dance unfolding overhead. "Are you tired?" comes the soft, gentle question, voiced from somewhere deep inside the turtle's shell. But the leaves are far too busy in their revelry to answer, swept up in their spirals and swirls, convinced that the vigor of flight is proof of their being grown. They believe they must soar, even if only for a trembling instant, before they surrender themselves to gravity and earth. But Mock understands the nature of the change, a wisdom carried deep in his shell and in the measured rise and fall of his breaths. Leaves do not fall because they are weak or weary, but because they trust. Their letting go is an act of faith, that the earth will receive them, that the wind's embrace will guide them, that every ending folds gently into a new beginning. Drawing a long breath, Mock lifts his head and begins to tell his story, his words weaving with the wind and settling over the eager leaves. "There is a wind," he says, "that travels far beyond these garden walls, carrying the scent of salt from distant seas, the sweet echo of coconuts, and the bright laughter of dolphins from under sapphire waves. This wind, too, grows weary after its long journey, coming to rest on the sturdy bough of an old oak far from home. The oak's leaf, sensing the wind's tired spirit, droops quietly and drifts onto its back, allowing the pair to sleep through the hush of winter together. When spring arrives, the story does not end. The leaf, cradled by faith and time, will rise again in green threads running new in the tree's heart. The leaves, eager as they are to fly, cannot help but listen to this ancient narrative. Each wind-blown story is longer than any road, softer than any rain, holding the promise of returning, of belonging, of cyclical becoming. Whenever Mock's tale pauses, they hear the rhythmic sound of his breath, a grandfatherly lullaby, gentle, comforting, luring even the most restless leaf into a sense of peace. Their veins no longer quiver in excitement, but relax into a deep, golden calm. The wind continues, but softer now, no longer a mischievous partner in restless flight, but a gentle, guiding hand. One by one, the leaves find their places of rest. Silverleaf glides down to nestle in the grass, shaping itself like a boat to hold imaginary dreams. Lemonleaf lands upon a windowsill, light and soft, a touch as gentle as love. Bangleaf, after spinning in an elegant arc, comes to settle by the tree's deep roots, forming a delicate cape for the sleeping earth. Everywhere Mock's breathing, soft, unhurried, echoes, "Go to sleep. The ground is warm, the ground is soft, and soon spring will call you to rise again." Under this careful, loving lullaby, the whole garden becomes a patchwork quilt of leaves, layered in yellow, orange, and red, a silent symphony of restfulness. No more leaf strains against the silence. All have surrendered to sleep, their wild adventure slipping into dreams of snow, new buds, and the promise of life returning. By afternoon, sunlight tucks itself behind the bamboo, and the hush deepens. Mock lies motionless, half asleep himself, listening only to the dry chorus of leaves and their dreams. The world feels paused. The wind, at last, is at rest. Upon his shell, a few faded leaves arrange themselves like an autumn cloak. Mock smiles, a whisper of satisfaction curling at the corner of his mouth. When the leaves have learned how to lie still, everything else can too. The wind in its sighs, the earth in its patient waiting. This is how new stories begin. With silence, with stillness, with the readiness to listen. Some say on those late autumn afternoons that if you listen closely to the air's gentle rustling, even when no leaves are moving, you can hear the dreams of those leaves. The songs of journeys both near and far. Stories told in the old turtle's voice as he breathed slow and deep. If you lie down yourself, close your eyes, and breathe along, softly, slowly, you may find the same comfort, the same warmth. It is the earth, blanketed in leaves, whispering you to sleep, promising rest well, let the wind finish the story for you. As autumn slips quietly into the garden, shadows grow longer, and the evening arrives earlier each day. The last glimmers of sunlight fade behind a cluster of clouds, painting the sky in indigo and violet hues, casting a gentle twilight over every leaf, stone, and petal. It is as though the world is tucking itself in, swaddled beneath a soft velvet blanket that the night carefully weaves. The bees and butterflies retreat, the petals fold, and the air hangs still, filled with anticipation and calm. In the thickening dusk, a chorus of tiny voices emerges. The slow, patient creak of crickets, the delicate whispering of breeze against grass, the gentle rustling of leaves settling themselves for sleep. Throughout the garden, a hush falls, as if the earth itself is exhaling after a long, sunlit day. All creatures find their resting places. All, that is, except for one small, determined being. A firefly with a trembling light at the tip of his tail. He is called Firefly, and tonight, as every Kati night, he trembles with a singular purpose that fills his heart. He must shine. His wings are thin, their vain transparency barely cutting through the darkness, but the spot on his tail glows bravely despite its weakness. He flits from branch to blossom, weaving frantic circles around the older trees, gliding just above the dew-tipped grass and over the fragrant petals of bougainvillea and wild jasmine. Each time his glow flickers, worry quickens his flight. I have to shine. I have to shine forever, he whispers to himself, so quietly even the moon cannot hear. If I do not, the darkness will swallow me. The deeper the night grows, the harder Firefly tries. He presses onward, his tiny heart racing, wings beating ever faster, the light on his tail pulsing feverishly against a backdrop of black velvet sky. But as he struggles, his glow flickers more, wavering like the last candle before dawn. The harder he fights the darkness, the more tired he becomes, and the weaker his little light seems. Beneath a wide old fig tree, far from the chaos of Firefly's worried flight, lies Mock the turtle. Mock is still, as he always is at this gentle hour. Moss and lichen dust his shell like an emerald pillow. The thick leaves above him filter what little moonlight remains. He listens to the urgent buzz of cicadas, watches the pattern of frantic flickering light moving against the black sky, and knows all is not as calm as it seems. Mock opens his wise eyes, slow as the dawn itself, and speaks with a voice like a soft lullaby. Firefly, you're tired. Startled, Firefly ceases his circling. He hovers in place, his tail's glow now more akin to a single weak star than a steadfast lamp. I can't rest, he pleads. If I stop shining, darkness will envelop me. Mock draws in a slow, patient breath, so deeply that the garden itself seems to pause and listen. The sound is gentle, a swelling and waning. Ah, pff, ah. And then he speaks, his voice warming the shadowed air. Once the wind wandered deep into a rock cavity, Mock murmurs, and finding no light, was so afraid that it forgot how to blow. The darkness in that place was thick and silent. But even in that deep blackness, a dream was waiting inside the stone. A dream that glowed, not with fire, not with sunlight, but with something softer. It glowed with the belief that when you close your eyes, the light inside you will gently speak. Firefly, confused but comforted, lands gently on a nearby leaf. He feels his heart slowing, his worry loosening just a little. Another firefly, hearing Mock's tale, draws nearer and whispers, "What is the light in the dream?" Mock smiles a quiet smile, as though the answer is so obvious he wonders how anyone could not know it. It is a light that does not need to shine outwards, not for others nor for the world. It is the kind that lives within, a steady glow, just strong enough to guide you through the dark places of sleep, so you need not be afraid or lost. All around, the garden grows quieter. The hush is deep, the darkness thick, yet gentle. The other insects let their humming become a slow lull in the background, and the wind itself tiptoes as if not to disturb this soft moment. Even Firefly, for the first time, finds the courage to stop glowing. He rests beside Mock, folding his wings, and dares to let go. The darkness now is total, enveloping everything, like a heavy woolen blanket. Yet Firefly does not feel crushed or afraid. The darkness is not a monster to swallow him, but a soft curtain wrapping him close without weight or threat. In that tranquil darkness, he closes his eyes and discovers there are gentle glimmers inside, rays of memory and hope born from within. He remembers past joys, soaring above a stream lined with bright wild daisies, watching dew twinkle on the edge of morning leaves, tracing the word night in shining loops with his friends under the vast open sky. None of this light depends on his tale. It glimmers from his own heart, safe and unwavering. That night, Firefly falls into a calm sleep upon a dry mango leaf beside Mock. For the first time, there is no lit tale, no frantic battle against the darkness, and no trembling fear. When Mock breathes, the sound is a cradle in the night, rocking Firefly into dreams where he flies unhurried beneath the stars. The darkness touches him not as an enemy, but as a kind mother, softly patting a child to sleep. When he wakes, Firefly knows something new. The light he sought was never something to prove to the world, nor something to wrestle from the dark. It is a treasure to believe in, hidden, gentle, glowing from within, and even in darkness, he is still whole. And so some say if you ever see a firefly lying still, unlit under the night sky, do not worry. It is not lost, it is simply dreaming, guided by a light too quiet for the eyes, but bright enough for dreams. And if ever you find yourself afraid of the dark, try listening to the slow, steady breath of Mock. Pff, ah, pff, ah. Let it carry you towards restful sleep, to a place where the surest glow comes not from the outer world, but from a heart finding peace within. It was a night unlike any other, a night wrapped in silvery quiet, where not even a whisper of wind danced among the trees. The moon hung high and round, washed in light so soft it seemed as though someone had gently polished the world with a silken cloth. But beneath this serenely glowing sky, restlessness stirred. The world was hushed, yet the garden was awake. Every creature, great and small, found themselves captive in a wakeful hush that no lullaby could undo. Little Rabbit, usually tumbled in dreams before the moon reached its peak, found himself curled among the thistle beds, his ears tense and quivering. Every heartbeat was a question. Was someone coming? Was someone going? He listened for footsteps that never crossed the moss. He watched for shadows that never came. His small nose twitched with gentle worry, unsure what kept him from slumber. Firefly was nestled among the gentle cradles of leaves. His glow, normally dimmed in sleep, winked on and off through closed eyelids. It was as though he was afraid the night might change without his witness, that some magic or danger might slip by unnoticed. Each soft flicker was a tiny defiance against the darkness, a signal that he, too, was not part of sleep's soft tide. Dragonfly flying high was restless on his own pebble perch. Usually content to fold 6 spindly legs and tuck filmy wings, he now twitched and stretched and curled again. The yearning to soar unsettled his dreams. He flapped once, then settled, yet could not find the stillness needed to drift away. Even Kitten, a master of finding comfort in high, leafy cradles, was fitful. Curled with his tail wrapping around his nose one moment, uncurled and gazing into shadows the next. He sighed and blinked at the quiet that would not turn gentle. His claws flexed lightly on the branch, seeking a comfort he couldn't name. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the moon. It was simply a garden whose creatures could not surrender to peace. Their collective breathing didn't align. Every breath carried a gentle ache, as if the garden itself was asking, "How can I be at peace? How do I let go and sleep?" In a sheltered nook on a mossy stone slab, the oldest dreamer of the garden, Mok the turtle, shifted. Mok, who seemed never to hurry and always to know the right answers, had nearly been lost in sleep himself. But even he was drawn awake by the strange unease. He opened his wise old eyes, listened to the air, and felt the sleep of the garden being tugged away, like fog called by a silent wind. Without any fuss, Mok crept on slow, steady legs toward the heart of the garden, to where the grass was thickest and softest, a patch that held the memories of countless peaceful nights. He paused, closed his eyes, and drew a deep breath, filling his ancient lungs with the cool night air. As he exhaled, his breath became something more than air. It shimmered, vaporous and bright, floating into the moonlit garden with a gentle rhythmic sound. Not the song of a bird, nor the croak of a frog, but a lullaby spun from breath and ancient patience. The breath of Mok was soft as new mist, wide as the garden itself, and stretched like a comforting blanket over every stone and leaf. As the silvery breath unfurled, something magical touched the garden. Mok's exhale became a thin, luminous vapor, drifting and curling through roots and over blades, wrapping trees and bushes in a cool embrace. The smallest creatures first felt the change. Grasshoppers, ants, and beetles paused in quiet amazement. Wherever the mist brushed, tiny eyelids fluttered closed. Even those restlessly awake could not help themselves. One by one, every creature surrendered. Little rabbits sank into a velvet night. Fireflies' glow stilled. Dragonflies' wings eased. Kittens' uneasy stirring quieted. And then, all at once, the garden slipped into shared dreaming. There, in this woven dream, the garden itself rose into the sky. All its denizens found themselves lighter, unburdened by worry or wakefulness, cradled by a vast midnight expanse. Above, the real stars glittered, suddenly close as diamonds, quiet, brilliant, and endless. The garden soared on a blanket as dark as deep velvet, sparkling with threads of starfire. Everything felt soft, weightless, a place wrapped in wonder. Little Rabbit drifted among clouds as soft as spun sugar, marveling at the distance between each step and the earth far below. He leapt and floated, found that worry had vanished, and giggled in his sleep. Dragonfly glided along the broad rivers of starlight. No wings needed to guide him, never lost, never straying. The dream wind caught and held him as gently as a mother. Firefly, who sometimes felt lonely guiding himself and others with his light, bathed in a gentle glow that filled the vast dream. There was no need to shine, no need to blink, because the whole world glowed here, and he was part of it all. Kitten, so often a bundle of tension and curiosity, stretched on pillows of clouds, his breathing quieted at last. The voice of wind, now a simple lullaby, told him stories in the rustle of leaves. At the center of this dream blanket, Mok rested. Still and slow, the turtle's breath rippled outward. And with each exhale, a voice, soft, loving, certain, whispered to every heart, every gentle ear, "Go to sleep, dear ones. There's no need for worry. Here you are loved. Here you belong. Everyone has a place to lie down. No one is forgotten, not tonight or ever." The dream held on until dawn crept in. The first golden beams tickled the grass and glimmered on dewdrops scattered like tiny stars. One by one, the garden's creatures woke, smiles hidden in the corners of mouths and the tilt of ears. Little Rabbit's nose still twitched, but now with joy. Firefly rested content, tucked in stillness. Dragonfly sprawled, wings at ease, no longer searching. Kitten curled closely, purring in a world now safe. And in the center, Mok the turtle snored softly, lips turned up as if smiling, keeping just a little of the dream for himself. So it is said. On nights when the world feels restless, if you are quiet, you might just hear the breath of Mok floating through the window, mist on your cheek. And should you find yourself drifting on a blanket of stars, know this. You've been welcomed into the garden's shared dream. There you are never alone. There peace and rest come from the breath of caring souls. And sleep is the most treasured gift, one the garden keeps for every creature, every heart, every night. Thank you everyone for your interest. Please like and subscribe to the channel to receive notifications of more stories.